to be clear, so you signed a 4-fight deal. Holly would be one of the 4. So you have 3 left, and you'd like to fight all 3 in 2018.
Yes.
Get money.
After
Get money.
after fight the Holly Holm fight, I always feel great. I have a nice cut weight. I'm the easiest cut weight ever this fight. And then I feel great. You said me I can do 10 rounds.
You could have won about 12 rounds on that.
I was like, man, I can do boxing 12 rounds. And then I was really feel great. And then after the fight, I said, man, I want to fight 6 weeks in Australia. I don't have any injury, and that was good. And I can continue the camp just 5 weeks more, and then fight and then rest. But I don't have the opportunity again, so there's no way for the fight. But because I was really feel great, and then I feel no injury. I feel the weight I cut very well, very good, and not have any damage. And yeah.
So let's say you guys have control of everything. You're fighting 3 times 2018. Give me those 3 fights in a perfect world.
I mean, I think everybody wants to see Amanda Nunes. I know that there's been some talk about bringing Cat Zingano up to featherweight. I think that's a great fight. Man, it'd be nice to see Jermaine Durand decide to come back to 145 and fight Cris. I think those are probably the 3 biggest fights.
Agree.
Yeah.
But if you can't make those 3 fights, man, she still needs to fight 3 times. And you really do need to start building that division. And if you're not going to build the division with Cris fighting a true 145-pounder, then you need to start having girls compete at the weight of 145 so you can develop a contender. I mean, if you think that, a Cindy Dandois or Pam Sorensen or an Indian Gomez or the girl of the black belt that just went on Invicta this last weekend, or even Valentina's sister, she just got a win at 145 in Dubai. If you don't think those girls are ready for Cris yet, man, how many people wouldn't want to see Valentina's big sister?
Yeah.
How many people wouldn't want to see Valentina's sister fight Cindy Dandois, the girl that beat Jarena Bars? That's the girl that beat Cris. Mm-hmm. There's compelling fights that can happen on a contender series, on a Fight Pass event, even on an FS1 undercard. I mean, listen, I watched some of those fights this weekend from St. Louis, and some of those fights were smoking awesome. Some of those fights, man, there's still development.
Yeah,
there's still development fighters.
For sure. And when you guys bring up these concerns with UFC, we say, man, let's build the 145-pound division. What do they say?
I think the UFC is in the money business, right? And they want to make the fights that are going to make the most money at the time that they put them on. And that's the business that fight promoters are in. But on the flip side of that, it's like that's worked, but that doesn't mean that there isn't things that couldn't have worked better.
Yeah, it's short-sighted.
I mean, look, Cris fought 2 times at 140 pounds. But really, what were those fights? And the 3 fights that she fought in Invicta, I mean, they were at 145 pounds. Let's say that 7 fights ago, Cris had already started fighting at 145 pounds. We've probably already seen Cris versus Amanda Nunes by now. Mm-hmm. We've probably already seen Cris versus Holly Holm by now. I mean, a lot of these fights, the Cat Zingano, she's struggling at 135, I think, largely because of the weight cut.
Correct.
When you look at girls like Miesha Tate, did you see that that photo that went viral of Miesha Tate where she was on the ground and Brian Caraway's standing over her? I mean, that was before she fought Amanda Nunes.
Rough.
I get those girls don't want to fight Cyborg at 145. I get that. But how come a Cat Zingano doesn't want to fight a Miesha Tate at 145, right? Or what would have happened if Holly Holm fights Amanda Nunes at 145 instead of 135? Mm-hmm. Does that change the dynamics of that outcome? Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I know that at 145, if you judge Amanda for what she did, she wasn't a champion in Strikeforce. She wasn't a champion in Invicta. Man, Cindy Dandois, a lot of people like to talk about how terrible her one fight was in the UFC because she fought herself all over the place.
Yeah, she's a hot mess.
But she lost by a decision. And the girl that she lost to a decision, Alexis Davis, that's a girl that actually finished Amanda Nunes on the ground by TKO at 145.
I can't understand why Amanda Nunes is up for this fight. I look at it stylistically, and it's a bad matchup for her. So she wants to fight basically a bigger, faster, more technical version of herself in a Cris Cyborg.
When did you first see Amanda Nunes? I mean,
I met Amanda in Brazil. When I met Amanda in Brazil, I was already champion 145 in Strike Force. And if you don't have any opportunity to fight in Strike Force, because she's lost for Alex Davis, and then she not getting close to the belt, for fight for the belt. And I don't think this fight ahead because she don't getting close. It's supposed to be gonna happen because Scott Coker really look for girls in the fight.
Yeah.
And for me, I was not to like fight somebody Brazilian, and then I was
get out of here. You cannot be a pussy now.
No.
You don't want to fight somebody from here. That's like me saying I don't want to fight Robbie Lawler because he's American.
No, because
you don't want to fight another Brazilian.
I know. I think like this. Not gonna change anything in my career. Like this. Not gonna help my division. And then one thing, I think I want to fight Amanda if people want to watch Amanda, but it's not one thing I would like to do because she's Brazilian. I don't want to fight Brazilian. And she's the champion, and the Bob's the champion. And they wanna put the two birds and they kill one bird away from rock.
They're trying to kill at least one Brazilian.
Let's keep it real though. There was a time this year where Amanda Nunes was the only Brazilian UFC champ.
Yes,
it was the first time in a long time that Brazil did not have a single UFC champion.
And then why are you gonna kill the two champions and the two fight each other? I don't have any problem.
But Amanda wants it.
I know.
Right? That's where it comes from.
She's keep text done, keep call done. Like Donna
why do you think she wants to fight?
And then I want to say because she no make money. If you see her career, she fight Ronda Rousey. She getting pay-per-view, good explosion this fight, and then she fight Misha Tate in the Brock Lesnar card, and then she's fight by herself with Valentina, and then she can barely have to make 100,000 pay-per-view. She cannot make any money in pay-per-view. She's thinking about the money.
Which UFC was that?
The last one, I think. No.
Which one was that? Which pay-per-view was?
Amanda Nunes and Shevchenko. That was...
it was the second time they fought, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because the first time don't happen.
Just type in Amanda Nunes. It's not going to be...
how about did it do?
215?
Yeah.
215. Did 100,000.
And who was the co-main
Click
event
on that
on
UFC 215 right there.
Who was the co-main event on that?
So you had Mighty Mouse and Borg, which is notoriously known for not being...
RDA. You had RDA, right? That's another Brazilian up-and-comer.
You had Stevens, Melendez, you had Latifi, Pedro, Cejudo, Reyes. Yeah, that's not a big...
But 100,000, that's got to be one of the worst pay-per-views.
And then I think...
That's awful.
In a long time.
Yeah, that's bad.
And then I think Amanda say, okay, if I fight Cyber now, I can make extra money, It's okay, cool, she look at this way, but, all the... She have girls 135 for fight. She can fight Cat Zingano. Cat Zingano beat her already. Yeah. She's supposed to want to fight back Cat Zingano. Let's clean up this. Or, okay, I want to fight Alex Davis. She beat me. I want to fight Alex Davis. And the other girls 125.
Yeah.
And the other 125. She want to go 145. Okay, until I can accept it. But if a super fight and the money fight, like Dana said yesterday after the fight, okay, let's do one super card. I can fight Amanda next fight in super card. Let's talk super fight, super money. Then let's see that. But Amanda cannot buy sale pay-per-view. Have to be big card for you can do something.
So you're down for the Amanda Nunes fight, but you want it on the right card, maybe with some other headliners.
I mean, I think that if it's a super fight, right, then it has to go on a really good card.
Agreed.
I mean, especially when
you don't want to be on a fight night in Brazil.
Well, you got to see that's not even an option really. Like the way those championship contracts are, it's like she kind of has to be on pay-per-view because it's heavily incentive based like that.
Gotcha.
And you see like when Misha Tate, she fights on a card with like Brock Lesnar. Man, that's 1 million pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, you're going safe.
And so you start getting into incentive money, which is sometimes even more than what your base was.
Okay, well, here's the question for you then. There's no Brock Lesnar, there's no Ronda Rousey, there's no Conor McGregor. What other headliner would you want on the card, though, that would draw some sort of pay-per-view number?
I mean, well, you got to look at what they did last year, right? And essentially there was 2 big events. I mean, you had the event with John Jones in D.C., and then you had the event with GSP. And I mean, you see Conor McGregor is talking about maybe coming back in September. You see Nate Diaz taking pictures at the UFC Performance Institute. I mean, these are all other things that really have to start factoring in. You got 3 fights in 1 year. So
if you wait, I'm telling you now, if you wait for Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor to come back to headline, you guys you're going to get 1 fight this year.
And you don't need to necessarily put it on the blockbuster of the year, but you want to put it in a market that traditionally performs strong. When you look at what Chris's last pay-per-view did, it did well, but she was the only title fight on the card. So when you put it on a card, you're like,
the
okay.
New Year's card, too, which is predominantly supposed to be one of the biggest cards of the year. But again, that injury bug.
I mean, John Jones' card had 3 title fights. You know what I mean? And even the GSP card, that was a solid card as well.
Huge card.
And to be fair, 219, I think, would have done a lot better if Dominique Cruz would have been replaced with a good name when he fell off. Yep. What was the real athletic kid from Cameroon that just fought? Umasari.
Oh, Usman.
Yeah. He was supposed to be on the card. I mean, Gokhan Saki's a monster and has a huge following.
Huge name,
so I think it's just one of those things you just need to negotiate it, right? I mean, traditionally, that's kind of what you do. If it's 3 fights in a year, you decide where they take place. You map it out over the year. You decide who they're going to be, how you're going to build it, what type of marketing goes into it, you know?
Yeah, it's tough with the lay of the land right now because the UFC numbers that this article that just came out and seeing how the numbers are down, and then you look at the pay-per-view draws. You know, obviously Cyborg's one of the biggest stars in the UFC, but if you're going to partner her with someone else to try and, you know, I don't know who would break 1 million pay-per-views this day and age.